We have to have a honest conversation today. I mean, very, very honest because of what is happening in Sudan right now. And it exposes a lot of ugly and deep plots, ladies and gentlemen. The situation in Sudan is very, very bad on one side and is good on one side because the Sudanese armed forces are beginning to push the RSF back. But the RSF is still a formidable unit because of the support they are still getting from the Arab Emirates through Chad, Ethiopia, and through Libya. But ladies and gentlemen, we need to talk about what is already developing in Sudan right now. And what is happening in Sudan goes a long way because it is not just isolated what is going on in Sudan. What is going on in Sudan, as we have right now, is a situation where the United Nation and the Human Rights Watch are calling on the Sudanese authorities, most especially General Harbaran and all of the personnel in the Sudanese authorities. They are saying that they need to prosecute some of the generals that are defecting from the RSF rank. Now, they are originally Janjaweeds, they call them leaders from the RSF rank. So they are defecting to the rank of the Sudanese Armed Forces right now. And the fact that they are defecting to the ranks of the Sudanese Armed Forces is causing something, right? Because General Harburan gave them amnesty. He said, if you are a operative of the RSF, and you defect back to the rank of the Sudanese Armed Forces, we are ready to give you amnesty. Nothing will happen to you. Just stop the killing, stop the genocide, come back home, and we are going to give you amnesty. Now, all the while, the Human Rights Watch did not see this. They did not do that. Look, all the RSF commanders that are deleting a lot of people in Sudan, they have not called them out, like individually called them out. Hell no. But recently, now this defection is massive. And let's talk about the reason why this defection is now becoming very, very huge. All right. It's a problem for the RSF right now. If you look at the offensive of RSF right now, the latest build up is, the El Ubaid build up. All right. But, ladies and gentlemen, based on the information we're having on the front line today, the Sudanese Armed Forces are beginning to dislodge, a sort of preemptive attack on the RSF build up around El Ubaid. Now, the big problem that we have right now is that the Human Rights Watch is doing something that is very, very bad. And you know who the Human Rights Watch represent. They represent the United States of America. Now, the Human Rights Watch is calling for prosecution of those RSF commanders that are defecting to the side of the Sudanese Armed Forces. But if you want to call for prosecution of those who are defecting, you have to look. If you put a knife in my hand and you point out a target for me, like go take out that guy. You and I, we are the same. So the question is, why is the Human Rights Watch not talking about the United Arab Emirates? Why has the Human Rights Watch not talked about Israel? Because they are all together with the same Abrahamic Accord. Yeah, the UAE is like the Arab form of Israel. All right? And when you look at what they have been doing in Sudan, you definitely understand what I'm talking about when I say the UAE is the Arab form of Israel. Now, you calling out the generals that are defecting. You did not call out the UAE. You did not call out Chad. Because Chad is the main proxy from the north. Now, from the left, northwest, you have Libya. It's another supply route. From the eastern flank, you have Ethiopia playing a very active role in destabilizing Sudan. There's a lot of problem we need to talk about because Sudan too has our own problem. I think with not being able to identify who they really are, that's a big problem. But that does not take away from the fact that we need to address the issues of pressing concern right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, you see, the Human Rights Watch just called for the prosecution of former RSF commanders, men who defected from the Rapid Support Forces and joined the Sudanese Armed Forces. One of the name of this commanders is Ali Riz Allah. That's the name. They call him Al Savannah, a very, very brutal commander. Al Savannah is a destructive machine, and his units were very, very crucial to what happened in El Fasher. And part of the reason is why the Human Rights Watch is calling for his head. And apart from that, there is another one, Major General Anor Ahmad Adam, aka Anor Akuba. That is another destructive machine in Sudan. But both men are now defecting to the side of the Sudanese Armed Forces. The reason why they're taking this decision is because the calculus is no longer shifting in their favor. Ever since the Middle Eastern escalation of Israel, Iran, and the United States happened, with all those TNTs getting plugged into the UAE, Israel, UAE, they have not been able to fund the escalation in Sudan. Because, you see, weapons these days are not just weapons, they are sanctions. Iran has been able to sanction the UAE. In fact, at a point, they were forced to sell gold at auction price. And they don't have gold. The gold is coming from Sudan. All right. So what we have in Sudan right now is a situation where the Sudanese armed forces are beginning to capture strategic territories. You see, everybody talk about, Sudan has gold, but not every part of Sudan is strategic. Let's get that very clearly. There are some land that are called strategic lands, and there are some land in a country that are just normal lands. So when I mean strategic lands, those are the lands that are very, very essential, crucial to your economic sovereignty. Those are the lands that make Sudan Sudan. In terms of natural resources, the hubs, the Sudanese Armed Forces, with the help of Saudi Arabia, Russia, and other partners, are beginning to move very, very quickly. All right? Yeah. That is part of the problem we're talking about. The Sudanese people, till this day, they claim that they are Arabs. That's the reason why a lot of people are not galvanizing behind. Everybody don't. It's as if nothing is even. People don't even, because those people came out obviously and they said they are Arabs. And why did they call themselves Arabs? They said they speak Arab language. Do you know that Sudan is classified as they didn't call them a primary Middle Eastern state. They called them like a secondary Middle Eastern state. And this is because of this is because of the Arab slave trade. These are the blueprint of the Arab imperialism. A lot of people look at the West when we talk about imperialism. The Arab did worse. The Arabs, they did worse. And these are some of the blueprints. It is left for the Sudanese people to remember who they are, to decouple themselves from these people. Because the same people you claim to look like, to talk like, you want to affiliate yourself with them, that are the people funding this genocide in your country. So when they complain that, this certain group of people violated us, they did this, they did that, the question that comes to my mind is, why are you complaining? You claim that you are like them. You want to be part of them. You say you bear Arab names. In fact, when I wanted to start this live stream, I told my partner, I said, I don't feel that vibe. Like, if I'm talking about Mali, if I'm talking about Burkina Faso, if I'm talking about Niger, it's a different energy entirely. All right? It's a different energy entirely. But talking about people that don't see themselves as Africans, man, but it's all good. It's all good. I'm going to do what I have to do. But I believe you won't expect me to pick up the same pace and the same tempo and the same pace like I do when it comes to Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger. I'm not about to play with some African brothers. So a Sudanese is an Arab. So let us call them what they say they are. But I'm just speaking out for the sake of humanity. Humanity does not distinguish between race, does not distinguish between what's human and that human. To be human is to, you know, uh, uphold justice for everyone. The Sudanese people deserve justice. Though justice is returning from the line of contact, diplomatically, justice is returning. But we are about to call out the Western hypocrisy here because you should know that this crisis is not just isolated. Both the West and the UAE are playing a very, very big role. Recently, Qatar is now heavily funding the Sudanese Armed Forces. But you know what will happen at the end of the day? The Sudanese people will lose their sovereignty. Either UAE or the Qataris and the Saudis are, supporting this side or this side. The Sudanese people have lost their sovereignty because all this military support to delete, see, it's a lose-lose. So that using black to remove blacks, right? At the end of the day, for all the resources that was given, the air defense system, the different technology, the drones, expensive drones. Do you know how many Bayraktar UAVs have been shot down in Sudan? Even if I think the pilots are not skilled. I was looking at a video yesterday. Did you see the video I dropped on my last video? Did you see how the pilots was just stationary there and it was just moving the clicks? I'd be like, who are those people? And before you know, you will see, oh, Bayraktar is down here, Bayraktar is down there. The skill is not there. It's not there. So as a state, I don't think that after this conflict, something is happening behind the scene right now. Sudan is beginning to open the manufacturing hubs again. The transformer factories are beginning to open. But let's be clear. Who owns those transformer factories? Does it belong to the nation state of Sudan? Or is it some of the people that pretend to be supporters that are funding the Sudanese Armed Forces? Yeah, they need funding, right? Are they the ones that own those resources? Just like, okay, we support, for all our support, we're going to take this sector, we're going to take this sector, we're going to take this sector, we're going to take so good mine and all of that. So at the end of the day, the Sudanese Armed Forces look like they are winning the war. And they are winning the war very, very fast. But the thing is, even if they win the war, it's still a lose-lose. But let's get into it. So the Human Rights Watch have now spoken. And you know what I mean? I kind of, I actually agree with the Human Rights Watch here. The reason is because either you defect or you don't defect. Every human being, every entity that committed the crime that happened in Sudan must be prosecuted and they must face the law, most especially the bloodshed in Fasher. All right. But the Human Rights Watch, this is the question nobody wants to answer, ladies and gentlemen, because here is the Human Rights Watch when it comes to people who harmed the commanders in the first place that are defecting to the Sudanese Armed Forces now. Where is the United Nations Security Council? When it comes to foreign powers that supply drones, the mercenary from Chad, because let's not talk about Sudan without talking about Chad. The RSF, the bulk of the RSF came from Chad. You have Colombian fighters inside Sudan, Colombian mercenaries that are giving instruction on how the RSF can really, really carry out something very, very devastating against the Sudanese people. So what is the role of the Human Rights Watch in bringing these enemies to justice? Because either you like it or not, we must talk about justice here. Justice must take place. Colombians should not come to Africa. In fact, who are these people? You have them everywhere. Very low quality set of high Q like that. I mean, Colombians are like, I don't know. Have you seen them in have you seen their performance in the Russia-Ukraine front line? Putting a Colombian on the front line is like having nobody there. Their combat IQ is zero. It's zero. Now you come to Sudan. Well, the rule of engagement on how to deal with the Colombian mercenaries that have been caught is down to the Sudanese government. It's down to the Sudanese government. It's not going to be down to me to decide for them what they have to do with some of these mercenaries, this element of genocide. So now the Human Rights Watch is not saying those who put those weapons of genocide in their hands. All they are saying is, oh, you know, the commanders must be prosecuted. They must do something. So today we are going to go into the hypocrisy, the selective morality of the international system. And, I promise you by the end of this broadcast, you will understand what I mean when I say that justice in international law has a color, and that color is not black. Get it now. Justice in international law has a color, and that color is now black. So as a black man of African descent, number one, you have to rediscover yourself, because a lot of people have lost their identity. Rediscover yourself. Know who your ancestors are, because every land you stomp on in this Africa, as an African descent, you have to understand that your fathers, your great-grandfathers, your ancestors, your great-grandmothers, they were born on this land. So you have to be careful with everything you do with that land. The land is sacred. Even when you become ancestors, you will become a part of that land. So when a lot of people, I don't want to bring out too much smoke right now, because naturally I save my smoke for the Sahel. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you cannot. We need to talk about peace returning to Sudan. Because don't forget, even the same RSF mercenaries were brought into Mali to foment the chaos that recently happened in Mali. So the question is this: are you saying that Western nation like France is equally playing an under G role in Sudan? Because whose interests did they come to Mali to fight for? French interests. So are you saying that France is now a terrorist nation state? It has been said in the European Union, the weapons they buy, the whole $90 billion, they funnel the weapon through the proxy of Ukraine to Africa. We're not going to have none of it. So, when it comes to international law, we have to understand the fact that international justice has a color, and that color is not black. Because if it is black, why is it that the ICC methodology of conducting international justice only applies to black people? The last time they played with Israel, you know what happened? So, families, let us establish the facts. So, because without facts, we are just going to be blowing the wind. And, let us look into these men who are accused of committing genocide. This General Al Savannah and Al Kuba, all right? They defected from the RSF to the Sudanese Armed Forces. This man, ladies and gentlemen, was a commander during the 18-month siege of El Fasher. Both Al Savannah and Al Kuba, all right, they were given the ranks of general in the RSF. But we know the Janjaweeds are no general. But it was before, look, this whole problem was created by the previous leader of Sudan. Because the RSF were the ones committing his crime. He's like, oh, if I want to deal with you this way, I'm going to use the conventional forces, which are the Sudanese Armed Forces. But if I want to do my dirty jobs, I'm going to use the Janjaweeds. With the promise that they were going to incorporate them into the military. Look at what is happening today. And it is because the Janjaweeds are the one that carry out the most destructive job. That is why they became so ferocious. The humanity was gone. And this is why we have what we have today. But, you know, the Human Rights Watch is now accusing them, and now even accusing General Al-Burhan. Now, why did he grant them sovereignty? But ladies and gentlemen, let's come to think of it. If he did not grant them sovereignty, will these generals defect from the RSF? Now that these generals have defected from the RSF, do you know that more RSF elements are beginning to leave the RSF rank? There is serious problem within the RSF rank as we speak. And Meti is no longer as influential as he used to be. In April, Major General Arno Ahmad Adam, known as Arno Akuba, defected from the RSF to the Sudanese Armed Forces. This man, ladies and gentlemen, was a commander during the 18-month siege of El Fasher. And Human Rights Watch said that they have well-documented evidence of the war crimes that was committed by these men. You know, in April, also, Al-Quba, during the 18-month siege of El Fasher, from the videos that the RSF posted, these men were present on the ground. So these are not just ordinary commanders. These are commanders not by, these are not the type of commander that sits in the office. They are always on the front line while the war crime is going on. But again, it's not about the pawns that are playing the game. Who are the queens? Who are the rook of castle? Who are the knights? Do you get what I'm saying? Who are the knights? Who are the enforcers of this crime? The dark hands in the shadows. That's the UAE, ladies and gentlemen. It's not the UAE. It's everyone related to the Abrahamic Accord. Let's get this. Let's plug. Because look, do you think the UAE can take that type of decision without the blessing of Israel? If the UAE, who is a component of the Abrahamic Accord, can take that decision, do you think if the UAE can take this decision with the blessing of Israel, do you think the United States is not in the know? Have you heard before that the French commander said the United States cannot even be trusted by the French state themselves? They said the United States has a notorious reputation. That's the US deep state. They have a notorious reputation of fueling the same. You have two enemies like this, the United States will be taking care of both sides. Just that they're going to take care of one side than the other. And they are going to be using their proxy organization to call out both sides at the same time. They don't want the war to end. Now let us talk about a report that was released by CNBC Africa Report, quoting a woman from Darfur named Alima Ismail. She says, and I quote, "The RSF soldiers, even if they seek God forgiveness, I cannot forgive them." Well, God forgiveness has no meaning to the RSF, so forget about it. Now I said, if they seek for God's forgiveness, I cannot forgive them because of what I saw face to face. That's what Miss Alima said. She described risk Allah forces firing into the air, forcing her and her children to the ground. She saw a woman and other women raped in front of her. She saw RSF fighters whipping a lot of civilians. unaliving a lot of civilians. She told the reporters, "You can see the scars on my hand. This is what she was. It was a video all the way down to her leg. She can't just show them the ones she has on her body." She said the RSF did that to her in the presence of these commanders that are just defected. So a lot of people are beginning to ask questions. Is General Al-Burhan not making the same mistake again? Because defection does not mean you have changed your identity. Now, you see, what the Human Rights Watch have done to put pressure, like these commanders, don't just bring them back into your fold, prosecute them and all of that. Well, what have the Human Rights Watch and the United Nations Security Council, what have they done about it? The UN, what have they done about it? The commanders that are still in the RSF, what have they done about Emeti? Nothing. So it is when they become soft and they come back to the Sudanese Armed Forces fold, that's when you now want to talk about humanitarian. I want to talk about human rights. Look, I don't even think we should ever take this organization serious again, because these organizations are useless, just like the African Union. They are non-entities. They are non-existential. They shouldn't even, in fact, I don't even know why these organizations were created in the first place. You are not calling out Emeti. They are not. So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if these people are really ever going to get true justice at the end of the day, because it's still a lose-lose for them. And the uncomfortable part of this, the Western media and international right machinery, they are comfortable talking about you must prosecute these generals, and they're not talking about the United Arab Emirates and our allies. Don't think that the United Arab Emirates is just walking alone. There are some other Middle Eastern players that are also a part of this. Al-Sisi is in the know. What has Al-Sisi done about it? In April of this year, refugees, under the care of international humanitarian organization, and their allies released the reports, okay, supported by the conflict inside group. And they said they found some things that UAE continues to supply weapons. Even during the war between Iran, Israel, UAE, when Iran was dishing it out to everybody, take your 1,000 milligram, 500 milligram. When Iran was slapping everybody all over the place in the Middle East. At a point, the UAE had to send their own Bayraktar Akinci drone that carried the flag of UAE. Now knocked down. If you're following the development on the line of contact, it has now been knocked down. Who is going to account for that? So, what I have to say is that the United States has officially determined that the RSF genocide, will not go unpunished. But how have they been able to punish it? You call yourself a so-called superpower. What have you done about the situation in Sudan? All right. So the UAE continues to supply weapons, and listen, the UAE continue to supply weapons to RSF, and the United States continue to sell weapons to the UAE. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to open this logic, because the Andre community is a very, very tactical community. The UAE is supplying weapons to the RSF, and the primary supplier of weapons to the UAE is the United States. This is a big kabuki theater here, and they want us to think that they are fighting for the justice of the Sudanese people. Don't you see that this is a whole big plot of the West See, there is a global competition right now for resources. The world is changing. Geopolitics is getting recalibrated by the day. What side are you going to be on? Are you going to be on the sovereignty side, or you want to continue? Because either you like it or not, the terrorists are coming for you. Yeah, they're coming. So are you going to be on the sovereignty side? Either way, you confront the same threats and you assert your dominance on the line of contact, while you improve your own territorial defense capability and the experience at the same time. So the same report revealed that UAE supported mercenaries from Colombia. Between 350 to 380 retired Colombian soldiers were operating in and around El Fasher as the city fell. The CIG report concluded, without this assistance, the siege takeover resulting atrocities would likely have not occurred. And at this time, the United States was funding the UAE through some back channels, proxy organizations as they called it. So let me ask you a logical question. If the Human Rights Watch is calling for the prosecution of the RSF commander, again I repeat, who carries out the atrocity? The local pawns? Who prosecutes the government that flew in the weapon? Who is going to prosecute Chad? Because Chad was a player. Who is going to prosecute Ethiopia? Because Ethiopia is a player. Who is going to prosecute the Libyans? Libya is not even a state. We all know Libya is a failed state. So when we are even talking about, when we're having conversation of the comedy of state, Libya does not meet any of the standard. And these are the nations. Because your life is in ruins, you want to now ruin other people's life. You want to be the assets that enables the destruction of other normal working states. But the Sudanese people need to reclaim their identity. They don't know who they are. That is my own big question. They don't know who they are. You know. And I want you all to be honest with me. If a bank robber is arrested, if he's captured, do we only prosecute the robber who held the gun? Or do we also need to investigate who gave him the gun, who supplied the car for the robbery, the money, the logistics behind the operation? Who is going to pay the robbers before the operation? You know, we have to look into this thing. Who are their internal allies? We need to look at that too. Not just capture the robbers. Who are the informants in that environment that told them, oh, we're going to give you the situational report before you go in? So it's always connected. So the United Nations Security Council have maintained armed embargo. Listen, they have maintained armed embargo on Darfur since 2004. So that's 22 years. And Chapter 5 of the United Nations Charter, the strongest legal instrument available, binding all states. In September 2025, the Security Council voted to extend this embargo. After a lot of years, 22 years, it was about to be over, they voted to extend the armed embargo. And it's still in force, till this day. And the UAE, a member of the United Nations Security Council, is now supplying weapons to the Janjaweeds. You should see that there's a coordinated decapitation that is like, it's like this is what you call organized crime, just at an international scale. And the UAE is flagrantly violating these charters as we speak. Weapon, drones, Colombian and Ukrainian machineries, because the Ukrainians are also part of this game too. And the weapons are flowing through Chad into Darfur. They are coming through Ethiopia. The weapons are coming through Libya. You know, because the UAE has economically and they have economic and diplomatic leverage because the UAE has relationship with permanent nation of the permanent members of the Security Council, and you know who these members are because international law, ladies and gentlemen, is not binding. It has friends, it has business partners, it has people who it cannot afford to offend regardless. The UAE is a very, very crucial part of the whole world order. Even if they know that whatever the UAE is flaunting out there does not belong to them, you know, and they continue to bring all this capability through Chad because Chad is the main proxy. Chad is the main proxy that brings in all this weapon, you know, and it is because the UAE has economic and diplomatic leverage because the UAE has relationship with this big permanent security council who are already expired. Their influence is no longer even what I can call influence because it's meaningless at this point. Look at the situation of France, very precarious. It is undeniable that some of these entities can no longer survive on their own because the world is changing. Other nation states can now, independently select partners by themselves. So the Human Rights Watch issued a statement within weeks. The international NGO machinery activated itself immediately. They are now pressing a release you know, that Al Buran must now prosecute these defected commanders. So for me, um, I want to take a step back and look from a Pan-African standpoint because that is why I'm here. I'm not going to speak for the interest of the West. I'm not going to start praising the Human Rights Watch as a good organization. Yeah, the Human Rights Watch is just like a calculator. You punch whatever keys, it gives you whatever. And that calculator is only used by the United States and allies. So is that really, really a reasonable organization to uphold justice? No, it's not. So for me, Sudan is not just a humanitarian crisis. Sudan is not just a civil war. Sudan is not just a resource war fought by external powers, most especially the West and our Arab associate. You know, and at all time they always use African proxies on African soil to commit these crimes, using African proxies to shed African blood. And these are the same external actors who wants to come pump their chest and lecture everybody about human rights. And look at what they said about Burkina Faso, right? This same non-entities. And they want to fuel, they're the ones fueling the conflict all over the globe. There is no single conflict that exists on the planet right now that the US is not actively participating in that conflict. So the same United Nations, they passed a resolution on Darfur, that's okay, we're not going to, for 22 years, arms embargo. But now that the UAE is now actively supplying, it's not just supplying rifles. We're talking about UAVs, we're talking about fiber optic drone, we're talking about like all type of drones. The war in Sudan is unlike any war. Like I don't think the quality of experience on the line of contact in Sudan, you can't compare it to the quality of what is going on in Ukraine. Like the IQ of the fighters, most especially the drone operators and the guys on the ground, is on a different level. But in Sudan, it is extremely brutal in Sudan. Like what you have in Sudan is complete brutality. It's back and forth. Like and it is the way they carry out the execution. You see a car drive over, like the video I posted yesterday. You saw the car driving over somebody. Like I don't know if those people are ever going to, even after the war is over. I don't think they are ever going to be normal. I don't know if those people can ever be normal. Like they don't prefer shooting. No, they prefer to drive over the person. See, like they want to experience that bone crushing effect while they are sitting in the car. So I mean, for the international community to call the Sudanese, to say that okay, the Sudanese must prosecute those commanders and all of that. They must equally call on Dagalo. They must equally call on the UAE. They must equally call on Chad. They must equally call on their, or one of their most obedient ally, the Ethiopian government. A lot must be done. And this is why the whole world order cannot be allowed to maintain the monopoly it once had, because this is a dirty, it's a dirty conglomerate. It has to be broken, and the multipolar world has to come to stay. It has come, and it will stay. This is not Mongo Park era. No, we are way past that now. I was talking about something in my live stream yesterday when I said that the European E3, let's put it that way, the E3, because even some of these European countries in Europe, they are still under the command control of this so-called E3. Albania, whatever you call yourself, and you feel like you are Europeans. No, you are just you are all colonized at the same time by this so-called E3. Even if I think it's now E2, all right, Britain and France. Germany, in any capacity, is not really relevant anymore. Germany is not relevant. Everything is just, you need a huge decapitation strike on their military industrial complex, and it will be over. Whatever complex is over. So for me, I would say that even other European states are still suffering. You know, and whatever you see that the European Union says, the authority comes from this E3. It's not coming from Ursula von der Leyen. No, 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 no. It comes from those E3s. So if you want to paralyze the European Union, you paralyze the E3, and it's all over. So for me, you heard the statement from that French liar in the European Parliament, who cannot just obviously say that, oh, our country is suffering and we need help. Who says that when there is trouble in West Africa, that it affects Europe? How does trouble in West Africa affect Europe? How? Because the funny thing is, if you look at the map of Africa, who connects to Europe first? You have the Maghreb countries. Is are the Maghreb countries so accessible? And you have Egypt, who is a Middle Eastern country, as claimed under the watch of the same international construct. So who is more connected? They should talk about the so-called entities that are directly connected to them. West Africa is so far away from them. I was saying it yesterday that some of those people believe that these lands, these territories in Africa are their territories in Africa. I was talking about this thing yesterday, and I said democracy will never, they call it Western democracy. They didn't call it African democracy. They call it Western democracy for a reason. It is the stamp and a symbol of conquest that ensures that the influence of the colonizers remain with you forever. So every time you have a criminal within your state making a statement that we are going to defend democracy, they are just imperialist lackeys, pledging their allegiance to the interests of the same colonialists. They made so many false statements yesterday. And I love the, if you go and listen again to the comments that was released by the Burkinabe Prime Minister. Look at, I know a lot of people were so pumped up that you did not really pay attention to some of the details. I want you to go back and pay attention to some of the details of that report. Burkina Faso embarrassed France seriously. And the European Union must be very careful. The representative will be kicked out of the Sahel. And if you talk about destabilizing the Sahel, how will you destabilize the Sahel? We're getting to that point. Yeah, how do you want to destabilize the Sahel? The citizens already don't like you. So that deceit, which is part of your doctrine, how will you be able to infiltrate the people that don't already like you, that don't want to have anything to do with you? How will you infiltrate their ranks? The AES states are very lucky because they've drawn the line, which means there is a generation of Sahelians that are going to grow. And this is the developmental stage of their lives. And they are in a revolution. Do you know what it means? It means a time will come, and many years to come. The developmental formative stage of their growth is they are experiencing that stage in a revolution. You cannot take that away from them. It's like you are telling somebody, hey, state and capital. It's like you are eating somebody, hey, A, B, C, D. People can never forget things like that because it's their fundamentals. When everywhere seems blocked, everybody resets and they go back to their fundamental. You ask the question. It's been 4 years now. That 4 years, Captain Ibrahim Traore and the rest of the AES leaders, they've made giving bets. They've made it very easy for their people. It means what? Most especially in Burkina Faso, giving birth is almost free. So what does that mean? It means that there is a population that is going to rise now. Now, there is a certain population that is facing out. There is a youth population that embrace the current revolution. And there is a generation that are still very little that is going to be brought up in this revolution. At the time, every other African country begin to ask questions. Why are we facing the press? Why are these people? Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, they will be on a whole nother level at that time. And this is the future that I see, that some of my brothers here don't see. The future is bright for this country. It's not about who got. Now, if you go and check marathon, 100 meter, 200 meter, 5,000 meter, you got there first has no meaning. Go and look at it clearly. As long as everybody will get there, everybody is still going to get there. So I got there first is senseless. So for all those countries, you look at your road, you'll be like, we have better roads. No, they are going to have even something that could be better than your own road. We have skyscrapers. They have the opportunity to build something even better than what you have. All right. So we have skyscrapers. It's not something you can brag of. It's not something you can brag about. what you can brag about is the quality of human beings you have within those states. And when you talk about the AES, they are different. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I want to bid you all farewell. I said I was going to talk about Sudan, and I kept my promise. So, I hope you enjoy this live stream. But given the fact that the Sudanese believe that they are not African, it does not affect my primary interest. I'm only speaking for the sake of humanity. I have no relationship at all with Middle Eastern people. I have no relationship with Arabs. So if you designate yourself as Arabs, which was a decision you voluntarily took, and you did not call yourself back and were waking your initiative to claim your identity, and you continue to say you are Arabs because you speak Arab language. And this same type of problem is already coming towards Nigeria, where you have some misguided Islamic cleric making certain claims. Somehow, some ways, I will say this today. I see whatever is going on in the UAE, and to be honest, I don't feel like you go and look at most African countries. People don't really feel like, oh, we want to talk about it. I am not from the Sahel, but I am more Sahelian than some people there. There is a reason. We see ourselves in that. It's one for all and all for one. But if you claim that you are an Arab, there's no point. Your allies are Arabs, your language is Arabian. Nah. I've fulfilled my promise. I've done what I had to do, giving my voice to them. But I can only update about Sudan on Telegram. I'll continue to give you updates on Telegram. So if you want to continue to get fast information on the frontline situation in Sudan, you can plug in on our Telegram. All right. I can get other friends of mine to me who are Muslims who will probably have interest in talking about Sudan. But to be honest with you, I'm a very blunt and brutal human being. I don't have any interest in talking about people who said that they are Arabs. And I am like this. I'm a very unapologetic black man. A very local boy from my village. I embrace my identity to the highest level. I'm extremely proud of who I am. I don't play when it comes to my own people. I represent my people here at home and abroad. And when I see my people, I'm very proud of them. I will defend my people at any cost, even with my own very life. When I speak, I'm not one of those people that are speaking because I'm hiding behind cameras. I'm very confident. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm not one of those that believe death is painful. I believe death is your immortality. So we are not messing about here. If I ever have the opportunity to fight for the people I love, no matter how dangerous the combat is, we are going to be the one to be there. So, the Arabs, the people that feel like they are more Arabs, should go and speak for the Sudanese. I recently got the contact of is it Caballo? Yeah, but I don't think there's a need to discuss. Honestly, I know a lot of people don't. You might feel like, oh, we are African. No, we are not all Africans. We are not all Africans. Eh, we're not all Africans. And for those Nigerians, they are telling you to disassociate yourself with a certain look. You see the situation that happened in Sudan. It was already in the build-up. It didn't just happen. It didn't just happen out of the blue. It was carefully built up. We are just seeing a part of it. All right. That same nonsense is already happening in Nigeria. You see, oh, where's my Quran? When you read the Quran, for you to have a clear understanding of the Quran, you have to, they tell you, you have to understand a certain language. And when you ask a Sudanese that why do you think you are Arab, he tells you, I speak Arabic. We bear Arabic names. Now, if you ask a Nigerian, probably a Yoruba person, what's your name? You will not hear Adigo. You will not hear Ajanaku. You will not hear Adikpoju. You will not hear all those things. Ibrahim Taufik. My name is Yusuf Kwazim. The zero identity. And it will continue like that. And you will think you are following religion. You will think you are, oh, I will make it to Jannah. And the people you are even trying to be like, they don't want to be like you. When you get there, you don't even pray. Like, you are very, very far away from them. The racism is at the all-time peak. If they have the chance, they'll make you eunuch. They will turn you into a eunuch if they have the opportunity. Immediately, because it's in their history. It's part of their record. I don't know why a certain group of people that call themselves Africans, they don't leave. I don't know if it's intentional or I don't know if you just decide to ignore history. Nobody should stupefy anybody by telling you you have to. No. I don't care. Look, what you went through it. What we went through, my ancestors went through it, and I'm not about to forget because it's a slap on them. If I just come out and be like, oh no, every day I'm guided by the sufferings and the toiling of my ancestors. I've not forgotten. So I'm not here by chance. Some people had to bleed. Some people had to get into a situation where they, I wonder what some of my ancestors must have faced. And I see some very, very genocidal part of history. And I ask myself sometimes, how did these people get out of this period? How did they make it? How did they survive? How did they escape? So, if you call yourself an Arab, be Arab. Canvas for the support of Arabs. We are Africans. I'm a Yoruba person. And I know my father's name. And I know my name. I am the living evidence of 1,000 years of generation. So from the first man from my lineage, I am him that ensures that I can claim that yeah, I am from this people. And and I know in this moment they are proud that I'm representing them the right way. I don't want to be anyone else. And I'm proud of my people and I represent my people always. So if you claim, do you know how dirty, how much dirty that is for you to? It's a disgrace on you. It's a disgrace on your ancestors that you are claiming to be who you are not. But well, it's that we don't have the time. I see a lot of my brothers saying that Nigerians, Yoruba should come back home, stop embracing Arab culture. There's no point in begging anybody. No, there's no time for that type of preaching. Stand wherever you want to stand. And when the jungle is matured, it might be too late for you to run back to your father's home. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to draw it down at this point. I really appreciate you for your support so far. Um, I don't want to. There are some type of support, all right, um, that if we give to certain people, I'm not talking about Sudan here. It's a waste of time. Do you know why it's a waste of time? Because the people that you are trying to give that support to they don't even understand the value of that support. So you only give something to those people that understand the value of what you are giving to them. All right? You have to understand the value. Imagine going to Sudan to fight and laying down your life. When you damn the consequence that you can get blown apart, you don't mind. Is kill and be killed. But victory is only meant for those that dares. You have to dare. You have to be daring first for you to even talk about victory. They say Africa is the largest. Why are you the largest? What is that thing that stands out about you that other people must look at and be scared? I value fear more than ever. I don't want your love. I want your fear. I don't want a European person to come and embrace. Don't embrace me. When you sit next to me, be you and let me be me. And I won't lie to you. I have to be honest with you. I love the Persian people, the people in Iran, right? And people are mixed at the same time. I love the Chechens. Oh man, those are good people. I love the Russians. Not all Russians are good, all right? I love some Ukrainians. I love Alexander Usyk. I love Vasily Lomachenko. I love some people, right? But I hate bad people. And I hate people that are not proud of who they are. So, this is just my take. So, I'm calling out the United Nation, Security Council. I'm calling out the Human Rights Watch to do what they have to do, uphold justice, keep your integrity intact, and be on point with Sudan. But on top of Sudan, I'm just letting you know my blunt truth. It is none of my business. Musoi Muduro, thank you, and God bless you.